Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. I have to admit that breakfast is one of my favorite meals, but I also suspect that some of us may never have realized that the word literally means that we break our fast. If you didn't have a late night snack, then you haven't eaten since dinner the night before, and so over the night you were in essence fasting. A plate of eggs, sausage, bacon, pancakes, grits, and more is the time for us to break the fast of the overnight hours and begin to eat again. Maybe you never realized that you were already involved in a daily fast this way. This week, as we have begun the season of Lent, we are looking at fasting and exploring some times in the Bible when it happened. Today we want to look at some fasts that you may never have noticed before. The first story involves Jonah. Now I'm sure you know the story of Jonah, how he was called to preach against the people of Nineveh for their wickedness, and how he ran the other way. Eventually he had some sailors throw him overboard to calm a storm that threatened them all, and Jonah was swallowed by a great fish. Now, the Bible doesn't say anything about it, but I'm betting that the 3 days Jonah spent in the belly of that fish was a pretty powerful time of fasting and praying. The fish wasn't fasting. It had its fill of Jonah, and eventually spit him up on the shore. When you've been vomited out by a fish, you have reached bottom. But for Jonah, it was salvation, and he got up and went about what God sent him to do. He went to Nineveh and preached that if they didn't repent, God would destroy them and their city. Then Jonah went outside the city to watch it happen. Inside the city, however, the people did repent. The Bible describes that they tore their clothes and put on ashes and sackcloth, and that they fasted and prayed. In other words, they repented of their evil. Now the story goes on how God forgave them and how Jonah was furious that God did, but I think we need to notice that the purpose of a fast is to draw closer to God. And in this case, that seems to be exactly what happened. To repent means to turn around, and that's what the people of Nineveh did. And Jonah had the opportunity to learn an awful lot about grace. Our last story for the week involves a prophetess from the time of Jesus. You may not really be aware of her. We don't often look at this story following Jesus' birth. But you see, in that time, when any male child was born, on his 8th day, he was to be presented at the temple. So Mary and Joseph brought Jesus as they were supposed to. There in the temple was a very old man named Simeon. God had promised him that he would not die until he had seen the Messiah. So every day he spent time at the temple, staring eagerly into the faces of each child who was brought there, looking for the Messiah. When he saw Jesus, he erupted into a song, saying that now he could die in peace because his eyes had seen the salvation of God. Also in the temple was a woman named Anna, who was a widow and a prophetess. The Bible describes that she spent all her time there fasting and praying. Her desire was to be close to God. She fasted and prayed so that she wouldn't be distracted by worldly things, but instead would be wholly focused on God. When Anna saw the baby Jesus, she wouldn't stop talking about him and told everyone she encountered about the child. Both the Ninevites and Anna fasted in order to draw near to God. On our Lenten journey, may we find God with us always. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.